Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Federico Talks Watches. Now today, I want to discuss 3 brands that I think are really making a comeback. 3 brands that have impressed me and that I think have generally impressed people overall recently, and I think this could turn their fortunes around. Now, of course, before we get started, customary wristwatch check. Today I'm wearing a 1968 Seiko Bellmatic Alarm. No, this is not my pickup that I went to pick up at the post office that I mentioned 2 or 3 videos back. Actually, that was my Longines Heritage 1945. Now, why am I not wearing that? Well, because after waiting for months at this point, I was really excited to get it, and actually a client had called me, a gentleman I know quite well, and he said he's been hunting everywhere for one, and he's dying to get one for his birthday. And me, being the really nice guy that I am, sold him the one I just got, and I reordered mine as well, so he didn't have to wait, and he got it in time. So unfortunately, I'm still waiting for my Heritage 1945, but it's okay. I also just picked up this Seiko, and this should hold me over at least for a little bit. Now also, guys, I just want to give a shout out, as I always do, to Delray Watch Supply. That's delraywatch.com, my website. Just got a couple of great pieces in stock. I got a Lind Verdolin Octopus 2 Moon Phase, which is something you hardly ever see, a Tudor Black Bay Red, and an Omega Seamaster America's Cup. Check out Delray Watch, link in the description below. Anyway, 3 brands that I think have recently done things to really help them make a comeback. These brands, I mean, this is my opinion, of course, so I don't know if ultimately this is actually going to help them boost their position, but time will tell. We'll look back on this video in a year or 2 and we'll see if I was right or wrong. I get 50-50 as of right now. These 3 brands were in no particular order. But the first one is going to be Frederique Constant. And this is one of the more interesting ones, because about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, I made a video saying that they were really growing, they were a great value proposition, and they were. This was a brand that when it first came out, collectors were really, really excited. Yeah, they did a couple things that people didn't love, like gold plating their watches, but generally they made really handsome designs, really interesting complications at really fair price points. Then what happened? Well, then they got cocky and they overproduced and they made way too many watches and they couldn't sell them all, which forced them and their ADs to dump all their excess stock onto the gray market, so then Frederique Constant could be purchased at literally pennies on the dollar. Now you might say, Federico, why is that so bad? I mean, it's great for us consumers. And yes, ultimately it is, but it did damage the brand in the long run. So when a watch came out and it was, let's say, $2,000, people would say, I don't want to spend $2,000 on Frederique Constant. Look at their watches. They sell for $150, $200, $300. So yes, I'm not trying to be greedy in defending the brand and that everybody should pay full price, but them dumping their stock and their stock selling so cheap was nice for consumers for a little bit, but ultimately it changed everybody's mind and it made their normal pieces seem overpriced. And unfortunately, that really hurt Frederique Constant for a long time. However, I think, this young brand still makes beautiful timepieces, and they just came out with what I think is a game changer. And that is the Frederique Constant hybrid manufacturer. They call it the world's first 3.0 watch. Essentially, it's a Frederique Constant with an in-house movement that's a hybrid between mechanical and smartwatch. Now, guys, I'm not going to deny, I really don't like smartwatches. It doesn't do anything for me. However, they're part of the landscape, and they're here to stay. And this isn't your average smartwatch. So first, you've got your normal mechanical Frederique Constant, and actually, it's a very handsome-looking watch with their classic lines. But attached to this movement is a battery-powered module that monitors things like heart rate, sleep tracking, amongst other things. But the coolest part is, and this is cool for watch collectors because I could give a crap about my sleep rate or the hours I sleep, it actually monitors your movement as well. You can connect it to the app and it shows you how accurate your movement is running, if it needs service. And you know what? For you OCD watch collectors out there, this is absolutely awful. But I think for most watch geeks, it's a really, really cool feature. Frederique Constant really took something that could, with smartwatch features, and turned it away from the smartwatch market and geared it towards watch geeks. And I think this is a genius move. This, based with the fact that also their more popular models are starting to clear up from the gray market, and they're being a little bit more intelligent how they distribute their watches, I think Frederique Constant is going to be back on track. Now, this is one of the few brands that is relatively new. They were on track, they got off really quick, and they got on just as quick as well. So Frederique Constant kind of zigging and zagging in the Swiss watch industry. But I think this their hybrid watch is absolutely a game changer. Guys, I suggest you go look it up. Now, another brand that is making huge waves and has been trying to get out of what I call the shit for a while, and that is Zenith. Zenith. One of the best values in watches today. A fully in-house manufacturer with fantastic history and arguably one of the best consumer chronograph movements, just because I think the Longue Datograph is a much better chronograph movement, but it's also, well, like 20 times the price. But, the El Primero that Zenith makes is the most iconic chronograph movement in the world, and probably the best one, or not probably, it is the best one for the price, at least in my opinion. They went through a dark time, when in the early 2000s, and they've been slowly crawling out of it. Now, Zenith is interesting because every brand has their icon. Rolex has the Submariner, IWC has their Pilot's Watch or the Portuguese, Cartier has the Tank, Breitling has the Navitimer, Zenith has the El Primero. But the El Primero is not a watch, it's actually a movement. And they've used El Primero movements in all kinds of watches. So it's a watch brand that its icon is not easily recognizable by its audience, unless, of course, we're talking about the watch geeks. However, with some very smart marketing, some very smart releases, like their new Montre d'Heure Neuf, which actually isn't new, it's been out for a while now, and their re-releases of classic El Primeros, they've been slowly doing a lot better. However, they've recently come out with the Zenith Defy Lab, which is a complete game changer. Or actually, not even the Defy Lab, the entire Defy line, which is ironic because the Defy line is what sank them in the 90s. Guys, go look up Zenith Defy. Actually, I'll put up a picture right out here. These original Defys, or not original, but these Defys from that era, basically what took Zenith off track. But the new Defy line, apart from being extremely handsome, especially their skeleton, the new Defy Lab kind of reinvents the mechanical movement. It's really interesting and really technical. I won't do it justice, but I think this new line of watches might give Zenith the icon they so badly need. And the fact that they're still priced well and that you get so much value, I think Zenith is a brand that is definitely on the up and up. Next, we have a brand that I might get a little flack for mentioning, but unfortunately the people that hate on this brand, just like the people that hate on Cartier, generally don't really know anything about watches. They're just pretending. Not that I'm some kind of huge expert, but I know enough to know that this brand has a pretty big horological pedigree, and that is Bulgari. The Italian luxury house, which was originally founded by Greeks and is now owned by the French LVMH, is a brand that has not been getting a lot of love as of late. Mainly known for their fashion-forward timepieces based on Edda movements, Then they purchased Daniel Roth and Gerald Genta line of watches, and they started making a lot of in-house stuff. Now they've come out with their new versions of the Octo line, and they've been breaking world records left and right. Thinnest mechanical watch, which was actually just beaten again by Piaget, thinnest tourbillon, some fantastic complications, and all of this, along with the money that LVMH has been kind of dumping into research and development, and I think Bulgari is gonna do some great things. This new Octo line is being praised all over the place. I'm seeing it on many more wrists. I'm seeing much more press about it. And while it might not be everybody's cup of tea, shall we say, we cannot say it's not horologically significant, because these movements are excellent. I think taking Bulgari's Italian avant-garde style and mixing it in with some more high-end in-house movements, and that to me is a recipe for success. Let's also not forget the fact that Bulgari is a very well-respected jeweler that has a lot of resources behind them. I definitely see them as moving forward in the horology world and definitely winning over some hearts of some watch collectors. Anyway, guys, those are my 3 picks for today. There could have been a lot more watches that could have been added to this list, or you may even disagree with my picks. Let me know in the comments section below. And guys, please don't forget to thumbs up this video if you enjoyed it. It really helps me out, and it helps this video rank in YouTube search. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more content. Guys, thank you so much for sticking with me on this Sunday for another episode of Federico Talks Watches, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.